You've decided to build a drone, and that's great. You could have bought a bind and fly, but you didn't because you want the experience of building the drone yourself. So you've probably decided what sort of frame you want, whether it's a cinematic frame like this one, or a long range, or a freestyle frame. You've probably decided the size you want to build and the frame you want to build. And one of your biggest questions is probably about the battery, props, and motors combination that you're going to need. So these three things, the battery, the props, and the motors, this really defines the performance of your drone and how it's going to fly. So in this video, I'm going to show you a resource that I've developed that's going to make that decision process just a little bit easier. Let's have a look at it on the computer. So head on over to cubefpv.com and click on the resources section. On this page, you want to choose the FPV motor sizes resource. On this page, you'll see each category of drone by size. For example, starting here with the whoops up the top, and we go down 2 inch, 3 inch, etc., all the way down to 6 and 7 inch down the bottom here. So in each of the drone sizes, for example, in 3 inch drone size, I've got freestyle, cinematic, racing, and long range. Okay, let's have a look at an example of one of the resources. Let's look at 2.5 inch cinematic frames. Okay, and this is the resource here. So the way it works is like this. This is a 2.5 inch cinematic frame. Now if I wanted to build this frame out, I would go onto the internet and I'd find a similar drone that's produced by a commercial manufacturer, and I'll look at what sort of motors and props and battery they're using. So what I've done in this resource is I've gone out and collected all that information and graphed it all in one place. So you can get the overview of the spread of different motors and props and everything being used. Let's have a look. Okay, so if we have a look on the right here, you can see the manufacturers. Well-known manufacturers like GEP, RC, Lumineer, Axis Flying, things like this. Manufacturers that should know what they're doing when they're producing an FPV frame. And we've got the motor size and the kilovolt rating. And of course on the graph we've got the motor size down the bottom and the kilovolt rating on the left hand side here. So just at a glance we can see that there's a little bit of conformity here. This 1404, if we look up this line here, we can see a lot of the manufacturers are using 1404 motors for this sort of frame. And anywhere between 3006 to 5500 kilovolts. And so if we define a ballpark and we look at the middle of the ballpark, we can see these three here. 1404 size motor and 4600 kilovolts. So this is the middle of the ballpark, and if you're building a frame and if you choose a 1404 motor and 4600 kilovolts, then you would be pretty much guaranteed that drone is going to fly very well. Okay, so that's the motor. Let's say we decide on the 1404 4600 kilovolt motor. So that's numbers 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so it's the QAV Pro, the Synolog 25, and also the Pavo 25. So let's go down and have a look at those in detail. So down here, we've got numbers 1, 2, and 4. Let's consider the prop next. We've got a D63 here, and that's a 5-blade, and a D63 3-blade, and a D63 3-blade here. So for the prop, you could probably say that the D63 with a ducted blade, whether it's a 3 or 5-blade, would be suitable for these motors. And finally, let's take a look at the battery. So we've got a 4S 650 here, we've got a 4S 450 to 750, so around about the same as the first one, and a 4S 750 to 850. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that a 4S battery somewhere between 650 and 850 is going to be a good choice. So now we've got our motor, the 1404 4600. We're going to go with a D63, either 3 or 5 bladed prop, and a battery that's going to be 4S and anywhere between 650 and 850 milliamp hour batteries. Okay, so that's the resource. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep developing this resource. When the manufacturer releases a new drone, I'm going to add it to the resource. So let me know in the comments down below if you think it's useful, if you want to use it. And if you want to know more about this particular frame here, make sure you like and subscribe because I'm going to build this out in my next video. Happy flying.